Well, hello there, everybody. I don't know how much y'all know about Wyoming, but I bet if you knew how bullish they were on cryptocurrencies and you were a Bitcoiner, you'd be heading on right up there now. You hear me? I apologize. I'm not certain that people from Wyomingians? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they talk like that. I've been there. It's a beautiful state. However, what I do know is that they've got some blazing bullish sentiment on cryptocurrencies, especially ICO products relating the whole utility token, security token debate coming out of their Senate, passing laws, kicking ass and taking names. Let's take a deeper look and see what effect this could have on the crypto market as a whole. I am extremely excited about this news. I'm JOI's Free for Cracking Crypto, and let's take a deep look here. All right, guys, thank you for joining me today. JY's Free for Cracking Crypto. Hope everybody's doing good wherever they are, whatever you're doing. Hope your portfolios are looking fantastic, even though the cryptocurrency markets are not looking great right now. That's all right. Everything that goes up must come down, and most things that go down come back up. And we know that's true when we're talking about Bitcoin and related cryptocurrencies. So let's dive into some of this news. Wyoming. Yes, we're going to be talking about Wyoming today. So for those of you who don't know anything about Wyoming, they are famous for, it's a beautiful country. I've been there. Mountains, there's buffalo, there's ranches, Yellowstone National Park. It's a beautiful place. In fact, it was the first state in the Union to give women the right to vote. So there you go. That's always cool. So they've been on the forward curve of adoption. It is the least populated state in the country. And after we get done with some of this news and dive into what's really going on, I'm going to be wondering, did Satoshi Nakamoto move to Wyoming? Does he wear a cowboy hat? That would be fascinating. All right, so I like the headline for this article right here. Loophole for ICOs in the USA. Wyoming kicks federal states in the nuts. All right, cool. Now, that's a little bit of hyperbole, but this was the first article I read on this. Although I have been following the story for a while, I try to get the whole scope of what's going on. So here we're talking cryptonewsbulls.com, and what they're saying is that Wyoming is hands down the most bullish state in the crypto universe. That is true, and you will agree with me, hopefully, when you see what I'm talking about here. Now, let me pull up my show notes so I don't lose pace. Basically, Wyoming has passed a bill that says that utility tokens are not securities, that they are not subject to the SEC regulation, that they are not subject to federal regulation regarding securities, and this would basically allow developers and sellers to hold ICOs in the state of Wyoming, or in America, but definitely falling under Wyoming law, they'd be okay. Now, before we jump off the rails, let's just dive in. All right, so let's turn over to Forbes for a more in-depth look on this. Basically, what is happening is that Wyoming just passed House Bill 70, and it was just signed into law by their governor, Mead, this past weekend. It is the first state law in the United States that defines certain tokens as an entirely new asset class. Not securities, not commodities, but as a new form of property. And in the United States, property law generally falls under the purview of state law. Now, what the bill does is it excludes developers or sellers of utility tokens from securities laws if they meet certain conditions. Now, these conditions are: the token cannot be offered as an investment, one, and it must be a vehicle of exchange. In other words, it has to have the ability to be traded for something: a good, a service, access to data or information, a Coca-Cola, anything. Generally, I'm going to take that to mean that the startup or the ICO or the company is probably going to have something that you can trade for. You can have the token to trade for some good that they're offering at the time of the token sale, or very, very soon after. So we're talking about ICOs that already have a working product or platform. Not, well, this is our roadmap and we're going to launch this ICO to fund. No. Now, let's take a look over here. Now, I've actually got the bill of the text here, and I want to look at this text here. This is, again, all the links will be in the show notes down below. But I just want to bring this bill up. This is the actual online version of the bill. And it says right here in the opening section that the developer or seller of the token or the register agent of the developer or seller files a notice of intent with the Secretary of State as specified in subsection D. Now, subsection D does not actually require them to do a whole lot. Just provide some basic information and they're good. The purpose of the token is for a consumptive purpose, which will only be exchangeable for or provided for the receipt of goods, services, or content, including rights of access to goods, services, or content. And that's important. So it's not something that has to be physically given to them. It can be access to an online database, the digital right to certain goods. We're talking about a lot of different ICOs, a lot of different companies in the sphere that are doing lots of different things. So I like that this is broad. The main thing here is that the developer or seller of the token did not sell the token to the initial buyer as a financial investment. You can't sell the token and say, hey, this thing's going to go to the moon. From the ICO's perspective, the only way they can market the token is as a consumable, redeemable token for their goods and services. Right here. These are the two rules. The developer or seller did not market the token as a financial investment, and at least one of the following must be true. The developer or seller of the token reasonably believed that it sold the token to the initial buyer for a consumptive purpose. So you have to actually believe. According to this law, if something wonky happens and something bad goes down, they're not going to be charged if they genuinely were in good faith thinking that they were selling a consumable token. That the token has a consumptive purpose that is available at the time of sale and can be used at or near the time of sale for a consumptive purpose. This is where I was talking about the ICO genuinely needs to have a reliable product at the time of the token sale. However, number 3, if the token does not have a consumptive purpose available at the time of the sale, the initial buyer of the token is prevented from reselling the token until the token is available for use for a consumptive purpose. Now, here's where things shift, if you understood the reading of that. So let me reread that real quick, just a small section of it. I'll paraphrase it. For a utility token to not be considered a security, if it does not have a consumptive purpose, if you cannot exchange it for a good or service at the time of the sale, and this is a roadmap we're building and fleshing something out, then you will not be able, if you bought the token, you're going to be excluded from turning around and trading that token on an exchange, is what this means. Because if you were to do that, it would then become a security, and then the ICO would be liable. So I'm kind of curious, because how are they going to enforce that? How are they going to keep me from taking that token and taking it somewhere where it's going to be traded? Because there's going to be trading. Even when regulation steps in, I think for a long time we're still going to see centralized exchanges. I think even if we see liquidity pools and things like xtrade.io is trying to do, where they're trying to link all the liquidity among the exchanges, just like Wall Street does, I think even with that, you're going to see underground exchanges. Hopefully a lot of this is mitigated by the popularity of decentralized exchanges as they become easier to use and more popular. However, I just don't see, I'll be curious to see how exactly they're going to do this to the individual investor. I assume that the way they're going to do this is they're going to say, hey, listen, are they going to enforce or think that they can enforce the ICO somehow preventing a purchaser of their token from turning around and trading it? That's what I'm curious about. How does this actually affect the company that is holding the ICO? The reading of this statement could be that the burden upon the ICO is that they're going to have to somehow, in the ERC20 code or in some ERC development code, they're going to have to make some shift that the coin can't be sent to exchanges. You can't do that. You can't, unless you really change the Ethereum protocol. How can you prevent the sending of the token to particular addresses and not others? The government can't regulate that. That's not something that's going to be done. It says here in section 4, the developer or seller takes other reasonable precautions to prevent buyers from purchasing the token as a financial investment. Don't buy our token, guys, if you want to get rich. It's not going to go up in value. It's not a good investment. We're offering a 25% discount to those who buy a whole bunch, but don't buy it as a financial investment. It's being traded at over 50% on Bittrex right now, but do not buy it as an investment. Is that what we're going to have to see from these ICO companies? It'll be interesting to see how this plays out, but in the macro sense, this is extremely bullish. Coming from Wyoming state law. This is a state that's coming out. Didn't have to, but for some reason, there is extreme interest in cryptocurrencies in Wyoming. And this move right here, this bill, really throws the gauntlet down to the SEC, FinCEN, and the CFTC saying, hey, you guys are talking about SROs. We're talking about passing state law to define cryptocurrencies the way we see fit. You could take this in the much larger picture of states' rights versus federal rights. I'm not going to get into that right now, but this is extremely interesting and really bullish. And let's see here. Let me just pull up. Don't mind me. Just turn on one of my previous podcasts here. Okay, let me just this. All right, honey, pack the bags. Sorry, I'll do this later. My bad. Okay, so getting a little bit more serious here. Now, let's look at some of the other bills that were passed. Let me pull that up. Okay. 4 other blockchain bills raced through Wyoming legislature. This comes from CCM. It says, notably, there are 4 other cryptocurrency and blockchain-related bills currently moving through the Wyoming legislature, which, because it is an even-numbered year, I love how government regulation works, is limited by the state constitution to a 20-day legislative session. A 20-day legislative session for the entire year? Man, must be nice to be a senator. All right, House Bill 19, which passed the House on Monday and is now awaiting introduction to the Senate, exempts cryptocurrency from the state's Money Transmitter Act, a bill that predated the creation of Bitcoin and made it impractical for cryptocurrency exchanges to operate in the state. That last sentence is not really germane to what we're talking about here, but what is important, and I want you to note this right now in your mind, is that bill right there. It exempts cryptocurrency from the state's Money Transmitter Act. We'll return to that in a second. House Bill 101, which would update the state's Business Corporations Act to allow companies to create and use blockchains for the purpose of storing records and conducting inter-office communication. This bill has passed its second reading in the House, and if it passes its final hearing, will then go to the Senate. This is big because look at all the projects out there that are offering data storage. You have Siacoin, you have Filecoin, File Token, whatever it is. Lots of different companies. Gladius is a cool project that would allow you to do Cloudflare decentralized, essentially, to prevent DDoS attacks and IP verification. You know, a lot of cool projects coming out that are going to need some kind of regulation for companies to start adopting these. And this is basically saying, House Bill 101, if that passes, that's basically saying, hey, come on in, cryptocurrency companies. We're going to start putting information and data on the blockchain. We like that. That is especially with the bill that's saying, man, you're not securities. I think we're going to see Wyoming's economy go boom through the roof. They are getting ahead of the curve. Another bill that has just passed its second reading is House Bill 126, which allows the creation of series LLCs, a type of company structure that allows assets to be segregated and compartmentalized. Though greenlighting series LLCs is a move that will benefit more than just blockchain startups, proponents believe it is a key component of attracting entrepreneurs from this nascent industry to the state. So, Wyoming really trying to attract, like I just said, they're really getting ahead of the curve here. They're really passing a wide range of crypto bullish bills here and laws and putting into regulations that are going to cement them as a home for blockchain development for the cryptocurrency sphere in America. And this is what we need to see. You know, this is how the free markets work. The U.S. wants to dick around with regulations, and all these bigwigs want to worry about how we're going to take money from it and how we're going to sink our vampiric teeth into this and take away what we can. Meanwhile, you're going to have this, you know, the people who are going to get stuff done, they're going to come out and start getting stuff done, and Wyoming's getting stuff done, and they're going to profit immensely from this. You know, I love this idea that the federal government's going to, you know, we saw what happened. Let me take a brief tangent here. This all is very familiar to me of when California legalized medical marijuana and all the other states in the United States legalizing medical marijuana. And you still hear it like, oh, well, it's still federally illegal. And, you know, we heard that for years. And there was some raids at the beginning, and then they stopped. Dude, the federal government is not going in there and shaking down California. I mean, they're making things difficult for some of the the growers and the dispensaries in the marijuana industry, and there's still some issues with banks because of federal regulation. But for the most part, the medical marijuana industry is thriving. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. And I'm seriously undercutting that. I just don't have the facts or statistics in front of me. My point is that industry grew up. California said, hey, come on down. We're going to legalize marijuana, and we're going to provide this home for you, and we're going to pass bills and legislation that is going to be favorable to the growth of this. We're going to attract entrepreneurs, and we're going to grow this. So did Colorado. So did Washington State. And because of that, we've seen their economies boom. We've seen them do very well. Well, California has its own issues, but my point is the passing of legislation that was pro-medical marijuana attracted medical marijuana to them. And I remember hearing at the time, oh, you don't understand, it's federally illegal and this will never work. The federal government's going to crack down on them. That's not how the world's supposed to work. That is not how the Constitution was written. The states are supposed to have a large purview of their own law and be able to do pretty much whatever they want. It's just under the auspices of the federal government that we operate in per the Federalist Papers, so that we can have a better community, a better civil union that is not subject to wars and internal strife. But this idea that the federal government can just come in and control everything, and the arguments that people make that say, well, the laws say they can. Sure, the laws say they can, but if you practically look at what happens when states decide to just do their own thing, is that the federal government lets them. I mean, sure, they put up a small fight, but they're not sending in the military to crack down on medical marijuana dispensaries. They're not. It didn't happen because that's not how it works. They don't have the power to do that, and they know the state would kick their ass because say that the U.S. government, say the federal government comes out and says, oh, Wyoming is doing all this and that, and we got to run in and stop them. What other state is going to support the federal government against Wyoming? I mean, this is not how the world works. It's not how our politics work. States aren't going to rise up against each other to take the federal government's back. Wyoming is going to do this, and they're going to succeed, and I think the federal government's going to try to do this and that. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to succeed and that all these companies are going to be successful. We don't know exactly. Nobody can predict the future. But I do know that if Wyoming wants to do this and these companies come in and are successful, the federal government's not going to stop them. They're not going to stop them. And people can whine and complain about the SEC and FinCEN all day long if they want. If Wyoming wants to do this and Wyoming wants to support and promote cryptocurrency projects and ICO developers, they will. And the federal government will not stop them. The SEC will not stop them. FinCEN will not stop them. Sorry for that diatribe. Finally, Senate File 111, which passed a vote to introduce on Friday and is now headed to the committee hearing, would exempt cryptocurrency assets from state property taxes. That is juicy right there. That's nice. I like that. Now that I've covered all that, real quickly, I need to cover the FUD. So here we go over to finder.com with an article entitled, Why Wyoming's New Utility Token Bill May Be Redundant. Now, I want to go over some of this stuff because this is stuff that's been thrown around for a while. And I've basically just given my 2 cents on that with that diatribe that I just did. So rewind the tape if that passed right through your head, and in one ear and out the other, and refer to that as I go through some of these more negative statements about this. So this basically just introduces the bill and talks about how it might be redundant. Now let's see here. The SEC's statement on potentially unlawful online platforms for trading digital assets suggests that if a platform offers trading of digital assets that are securities and operates as an exchange, as defined by the federal securities laws, then the platform must register with the SEC as a national securities exchange or be exempt from registration. This is basically saying that per the SEC, these are securities, and exchanges trading them will be liable to SEC regulation. They need to regulate, disband, or face punishment. And this is exactly what Ripple Chief Executive Brad Garlinghouse says right here. I got the tweet right here. My point of view on the SEC statement today: the market is having an outsized reaction. Exchanges ultimately have 3 options ahead of them: delist ICOs and only have real cryptocurrencies on there like Bitcoin, Monero, Litecoin, Bcash, real cryptocurrencies, not ERC20 tokens. Register with the SEC or close. Certainly big implications for Ethereum given ERC20 tokens. All right, so there's that. Now I'm going to propose that there is now a 4th option that they have: move to Wyoming and lobby Wyoming to pass exchange laws, laws that protect and support exchanges like they're doing here. And I think that you can kind of see rumblings and inklings of that in all this. They're passing this broad swath. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. It is possible that couldn't happen, because they do say in there that, hey, we don't want people to turn around and resell these tokens. They can only be as commodities. But we'll just see how things play out when they start to see how much money starts pouring into Wyoming because of their bullish sentiment on cryptocurrency. We'll just see how that plays out. Now, FinCEN, which is the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, recently said that it considers ICOs to be money transmitters and as such must be registered and compliant with appropriate rules and guidelines. Coin Center Director of Research Peter van Valkenburg, or van Valkenburg, as it should be pronounced, I believe, in Deutsch, said this was a highly consequential interpretation, and it really is, if FinCEN is saying it considers all ICOs to be money transmitters. That means that, and he says right here, that any ICO or any business that had an ICO involving U.S. residents and failed to register with FinCEN as a money transmitter is committing felony, a federal offense, is liable to felony punishment, up to 5 years in prison. And so could the employees and investors of those tokens. And I think that's a very ham-handed way to approach this. I think you should crack down on the scams, the straight up people who held ICOs that had no project, that had a scammed white paper, that paid people under the table to promote their token, took the money and ran. I think you should track them down and punish them. And I think that you should let legitimate projects roll. And I think that is the approach that Wyoming is probably going to try and take here. Now you can see why I said, remember that comment in the state legislature about the bill about exempting cryptocurrencies from the Money Transmitter Act law. So this is important. You know, Wyoming's not stupid in how they're doing this. They know about FinCEN stance. They know about SEC stance. So I've heard people out there saying like Wyoming doesn't know what they're messing with. Wyoming doesn't know what they're doing. FinCEN and SEC are going to crack down hard on this. I just went through and walked you through how that's not going to happen. Unless they plan on sending the military in over this issue, it's not going to happen. If Wyoming wants to promote ICOs, if Wyoming wants to allow utility tokens to not be considered securities, and wants to allow them to do their thing there and promote businesses that want to have ICOs and genuinely promote legitimate projects that have development and want to draw those entrepreneurs to their state, they're not going to be stopped. This is the reality of the world. When you're a state, when you have power and you decide that you want to do something and you get your lawmakers together on the same page, I mean, the bill passed almost unanimously. This isn't an accident. And this is a trend. You're going to see the world separate into cryptocurrencies and those who are getting ahead of the curve and see the tide coming for financial markets for legacy money, and those who are going to hold on stubbornly. And we're going to see which tidal wave subsumes which. All right, guys, let me know what you think. Leave your comments down in the section below, please. I'm really excited to hear what you have to say about this. Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think I've hit the nail on the head on some issues? Do you think I'm maybe 50-50? It doesn't really matter what I think. What do you think? Do you think that this is a good move for Wyoming? Do you think this is a good move for ICOs? Do you think the SEC, what do you think the SEC will do to try to crack down on this, or FinCEN or the CFTC? Do you even care about ICOs at all? Are you only Bitcoiners? Which if you are, I'm cool with that. But let me know what you think down in the notes section down below. If you're new to the channel, why don't you please hit that thumbs up button and give us a subscribe. It really helps out. You get notified when we get new content, and it helps others find their way to this productive channel. All right, guys. Again, I'm dying to hear what you think. Hopefully you found this informative. I'm JOI's Free for Cracking Crypto. Hope you have a wonderful day. Peace out. Hey guys, if you enjoy what we're doing here and you'd like to join the community, please check out crackingcryptocurrency.com. You can find all our latest blog posts, our latest videos, our latest countdown timers, our latest trading advice. You can also join the Discord community and join us in the Discord. Lots of good people in there, lots of good resources, and lots of good information. So I hope to see you all there. Again, crackingcryptocurrency.com, and all the information for that will be also in the notes section down below. Thanks guys. Keep trading.